It is good to be back. It's always awesome to be present at this shrine where 23 years ago I was ordained a priest by Bishop McGann from the Diocese of Rockville Center. I was sent down the street, or up the street as we say here in Germantown, to Miraculous where I spent 2 years as parish priest. And then I was assigned to my alma mater at Niagara University. That first day at Niagara University was a memorable one. I'd gotten there after driving the 8 hours from my hometown to Niagara Falls, and I wanted to make a good impression. And so I was very ambitious, particularly as somewhat of a newly ordained. And so the doorbell rang at the priest's house, Mead Hall at Niagara University. I quickly went and answered it. There was a fellow there, and I was ambitious to treat him in a Christ-like fashion, so I was very attentive to him. And I said, how can I help you? And he said, it's Saturday afternoon. He says, all the banks are closed. I was wondering if you can help me out. I said, talk to me. He says, I got this check. He says, I just need cash. And I said, how much? He says, $100. And I said, all right, let me see what I can do. So I went to some of the other confreres, pulled together $100, and gave them the $100, give me the check. And that Tuesday, I couldn't get to the bank. I remember it was a Tuesday I went to the bank, deposited. Bounce, bounce, bounce. It bounced as easily as I received it. I was furious. This is my first day in the new ministry, and I was taken for a ride. And I thought such horrible thoughts of this young man, and what put him up to something like this? I was ticked, I was ripped off, and so don't ever ask me to cash a check for any of you. But it happened a few years ago, though, because one of the great things about being an Ascension priest, priest of the Congregation of the Mission, is that we have an opportunity to go all different parts of the world. And so I was assigned to our mission in Alexander City, Alabama. Now, Alexander City, Alabama is the backwaters, as you can imagine. And please, God, if you're watching on TV, please, I do not mean that in a horrible sense. But it's out of the way. And it's actually known for Russell's sportswear. So for those of you who have those sports jerseys, I'm surprised none of you are wearing Philly shirts today, considering today's your big day here in Citizens Park. I hope you win. But I was coming back from a family visit. And as I was coming back from a family visit, I recognized I needed gas in the parish car. So I pulled up at the gas station, and the guy comes over and says, how much? I said, fill it up. Give my credit card. He goes away. 10 minutes pass. There's no one pumping gas. So I said to myself, okay, different pace down here. I understand. Not New York, but let's see what happens. And so I get out of the car, and I go to the window. I said, excuse me, is anyone going to pump my gas anytime soon? The fellow says, you pump your own gas. We don't have anyone to pump your gas. I was white as a sheet. I said to myself, what just happened? Well, essentially what happened was the guy went off and used my credit card. Because back in the day, this was 1993, no cell phones. I went back to the parish house in Alexander City, St. John the Apostle, and called the credit card company right away. The fellow had already spent $350 on my credit card. I did not have such good appreciation for human relations. I did not value customer service at that time. It was quite a hassle to recover those funds. Final story involves my time as a teacher, which most of my life as a priest has been. When I give exams, whether it was here at Murray and Mercy Academy, whether it was at Niagara University, DePaul University, or presently at St. John's, I trust my students. But like parents, you only trust them so far. You recognize that. And so I give 2 exams. Now, sometimes I give 2 different colors and try to psych them out as if there are 2 different exams, but there aren't really 2 different exams, but they think there are 2 different exams. You know how it works. And so I trust them. And so I sit there and I do my own work. The Sisters of St. Joseph taught me this in grammar school. They seem to have eyes in the back of the head in so many ways. They just look up and you'd be living in fear. But you knew that things were going to get done in a moment of integrity. So I trust my students, and I value my relationships with my students. And so this situation kind of broke my heart. Now, I teach business ethics and medical ethics at the university in the theology department at St. John's. And so I told my students, I said, if you cheat on the exam, you fail the course. And they said, oh, our other teachers don't do that. They just have us fail the test. I said, you're going to be my doctor and nurse? You're going to be my business person? I don't want you being cheaters here and having you do the perp walk outside. I said, I want you to be people of integrity. I trust them. But unfortunately, one situation made me very angry and bitter and lead to a sense of distrust at times. You see, a student, and there are all sorts of ways of cheating. You look at another paper, but one student actually brought in a bottle of water to drink. And I watched her with the bottle, and a couple of students had bottles of water to drink. But I looked up at one point, and I saw the student drinking the bottle, and the bottle had no label on it anymore. See, what the student had done was take the label off the bottle, make a little cheat sheet on the back of that, and when the test was in progress, slowly slip that sheet off, put it under her paper, and proceeded to copy. A brilliant idea, I admit. But I was ticked beyond belief. I was hurt. The trust was violated. It was a painful experience to me with that student because I thought we had had a good relationship. If we were to be honest with ourselves, all of us have been victims of similar, if not more, painful scams in both our personal as well as professional lives. We're led also to believe that our culture steeped so richly in social media would make us more savvy. But we know too well that the web has become a platform itself for a whole new cachet of scams. How many of us got in those emails? You just won $1 million. Hey, I got $1 million to give you because one of your friends left it for you. People fall for those all the time. Those scams, those horrible events drain us. Our spirit, our energy, our time. They can leave us with hardened hearts, suspicious personalities, and bitter dispositions. I think we recognize that, unfortunately, a steady diet of abuse of this type can close us upon ourselves and lead us at times perhaps to even rage and do similar scams to others. But we have gathered this Easter day that lasts for so many days, to celebrate with our Christian sisters and brothers throughout the world in the global village. But in order for us to appreciate the profound understanding of what Easter is and enter into the joy of this day, it would be important for us to go back and truly appreciate that first Easter morn. Think about it. Jesus' followers and disciples had given up much, their lives, their vocations, to follow Jesus. And they were not disappointed. They learned so much from Jesus' wisdom and were privy to unprecedented divine works. People who suffered from physical and mental challenges were healed. Others were raised from the dead, and sinful lives were covered in the grace of God. This man, Jesus, was ushering in a new age, a new kingdom where justice and peace were constitutive elements. If we were to look at the scriptures, we'd recognize that it was an amazing 3 years of these people's lives. That is, until Good Friday. Everything seemed to change. Their leader, teacher, prophet, Lord, and Messiah was accused of treason and charged like any other criminal and led to his death. Think about what his followers thought. Think about what they felt when they witnessed this. They had been scammed. Jesus turned out to be just like any itinerant preacher of their day. Devastated, disappointed, and dejected, many of them retreated in fear of their own deaths by association. How painfully empty and tragically heartbroken that first Holy Saturday must have been for some. While some gave up all hope, there were others like Mary who were willing to see if the resurrection might in fact be true. They stayed around, like some of us do at the end of a movie, in hopes that might become some good outtakes. Mary Magdalene, Simon Peter, and some of the disciples went to the tomb that early morning, seemingly with their last breath of hope. And there it was, The stone was rolled back. No human could have moved that boulder. God had done it. For nothing is impossible with God, as we're told early on in Mary's life. God had made good on God's promises. God did not scam them in the end and raised Jesus from the dead. God does not scam us. Our relationship with God is worth living. That's why we come day after day to church. That's why we're here to praise and worship this victorious God who has triumphed over sin and death for us. For you and me, it is total gift. My friends, as we celebrate Easter these days, it is a glorious time for us. God has redeemed us in Jesus Christ, setting us free and positioning us for a life of flourishing. God is not a scam, and our lives as faithful are worth living.